Hi everyone and welcome to Season 2, Episode 1 of Reputation Rebuild at Aberdeen with me, the United City FM. Welcome along. So, plenty to get through today. Start of a brand new season. We get St Mirren in our first game of the Scottish Premiership. But there's also a few transfers to talk about from the summer as well. So, let's get into it. Welcome to the start of Season 2. So, yes, we are top of the league because it's alphabetical because no teams have played yet. So, take a snapshot of that. It might be the only time we see it this season, but that's okay. St Mirren to start off with. We've got some Euro Cup qualifying stuff to do as well, which is going to be hopefully good if we can get through that and get into the competition proper. But we have also got some transfer stuff to deal with, and that's what we're going to look at first. So at first glance, it doesn't look like we've done much. One transfer in, 3 out, but that's not actually the case at all because we did a lot of our transfer dealings quite early on in the window. So they actually attached themselves to last season's transfer stuff. So that's where we're going to have a look at first. So the bottom 3 here are ones that we had on loan last season, none of which came back again. So it's the top 6 that we're going to be looking at as new additions to the squad. And there's some good stuff in here as well. I think we had 1.34 million, I think, in the transfer kitty, which wasn't a lot at all. A reasonable amount of transfer wage budget. I think we had about 27 grand we could put into the side. So we did, in the end, as you'll see, spend the £1 million-ish and then loan some players in as well. I didn't quite manage to do everything that I wanted to do, but I did some stuff. So let's go through them. First in, on loan from Rangers, is Jack Simpson, 24-year-old central defender, very much an upgrade on what we've had before. Of course, that means that he won't be able to play against Rangers in our games against them this season. That's unfortunate, but was just one of those things. But overall, a little bit of heading, more heading would be great. A little bit more positioning would be great, but not essential for what I want him for and for the fact that he's an upgrade, I would suggest. So Jack Simpson comes into the starting lineup as a new central defender for us. We've got a couple of new strikers in rotation this season, and this is the first of them, and this is 18-year-old Liam Delap on loan from Manchester City. So again, there's a couple of gaps here because he's only 18, but this season with a bit of football, he's going to improve as the season goes on quite a lot, I would imagine. But 14 finishing, lots of pace about him, some good work rate in there, decent determination, all good positive things. There's some improvements that you'd like to see on things like composure, for example, but ultimately this guy is going to do all right for us and will start on the bench to start the season, but may well become the first team striker as the season goes on. So Liam Delap in for a season. Let's go back out and go into Nathan Baxter, another guy on loan, this time from Chelsea, a good goalkeeping option. Again, he's going to be working from the bench primarily to start with. But ultimately, if he can overtake Joe Lewis or not, I don't know whether he will. But I needed really good backup option. He's got a lot of gaps here and there, especially in his mentals. But as a goalkeeper, he's not too bad at all. And he's a decent option off the bench for one season. So Nathan Baxter comes into the club. Then we get Erdin Demir. Maybe Demir, possibly. Let me know if you know, but I'm going to go with Erdin Demir. And he comes in as a new left fullback for us. And I think, again, he's an upgrade on what we've previously had. Decent physicals mostly, some reasonable mentals and some okay technicals, including that 15 crossing. So a little bit more attacking from the fullback position, which is good. And I don't know how well he's going to do, but ultimately he was as good as I could find and brought him in. And so we'll see how we get on with Erdin Demir sitting at left fullback. So that's the next one. And another one that you'll probably all know about is Kevin Nisbet. And he comes in from Hibernian, and he's Going to be our starting striker, just because he has that little bit more experience over Liam Delap. But ultimately, if he doesn't perform, at least we've got somebody in the wings that I think could push him all the way and hopefully get goals out of both. Little bit lacking in the physicals maybe, but some good strong mentals off the ball, composure, anticipation, some very good finishing, good heading as well. So he's a double threat in terms of whether you can get it into his feet or his head. He should be able to do something with that, although his jumping reach isn't fantastic. But overall, definitely a huge improvement on what we had last season. This was our biggest issue all of last season, was getting the goals. And I think at least we've now got two options playing in rotation in that striker role who potentially should be able to get the goals for us. So Kevin Nisbet comes into the club, and the last one again from Rangers, but this time we bought him, is Glenn Middleton. He's only 21 years old and he's a left-sided player. We got rid of McGinn. We got rid of a lot of players over the summer, to be honest. So this guy comes in as our left-sided option. Again, plenty of gaps, but at this sort of level of football, that's what you're going to find a little bit. Could do with a little bit more passing just to get involved in the play. The mental side of the game is not particularly strong, but if you just want a left winger to get up and down the pitch with plenty of pace and a reasonably good crossing and dribbling, then I think this guy will do it. We'll have to wait and see how well he gets on, but he's the best option, again, that I could find. And he's Scottish, which is helpful. So Glenn Middleton comes into the club. And that's basically what we did. You can see on this side, we did get rid of a few sort of youngsters and periphery players. If we go and have a look at the released player list, then you'll see that a few of them were in our starting 11 last season. The likes of McGinn and Hobben, for example. Hobben was a difficult one. He's now gone to like Saudi Arabia or something. But I tried to keep him. I really desperately tried. But in the end, he wanted too much money, wanted to be too much of a big thing in the club. I couldn't guarantee him everything that he wanted. Couldn't then financially afford it. He got cross and ultimately left at the end of his contract. So it's unfortunate. I would have kept him if I could. Didn't work out, so Hobben left. And the other one, of course, was McGinn playing on that left wing. His physicals were just absolutely shot. At 34 years old, I couldn't warrant another year out of him. So I decided to move on from him. The rest of his attributes are reasonable, but it was just those physicals. Couldn't cope with that. So he's now out on a free transfer for somebody else to pick up. And that's what we did. Those are the transfers for this season. Let's see how we're going to play them. So the eagle-eyed among you will notice straight away that basically we're carrying on from where we left off last season in terms of our style of play and our formation. We're playing the 4-3-3. I bought players in specifically to do that as much as I could. So that's what we're going to be working with. Couple of other things. There's a 7-man bench this season rather than 9. And the amount that we can use has gone from 5 down to 3. So we're back to kind of normal after the pandemic year, really. So it's 7 on the bench, 3 that we can use. And there is one more player that I forgot to show you that was on the following page for this season, and that is Sean Goss. The one issue that I had all summer long was I ran out of money, basically, and I still needed a holding midfield player who can play in that sort of defensive, deep-lying playmaker type role, etc. I struggled and struggled. I went for like a dozen people in the end and could get none of them in for so many different reasons. And in the end, the best that I could do was Sean Goss. And he comes in and he's going to be okay for us. I don't know how much game time he'll get at 25 years old. He's Irish born, so at least he's part of the homegrown nations, as it were. And he's all right. Mentals are lacking quite a bit, to be honest. But there's some good technicals in there. We'll get some game time, but I'm not basing my side around him. And basically, if McCrory doesn't get injured, then there won't be a reshuffle of the midfield, and therefore he won't play too much. Because that holding role, McCrory has made it his own. He's the best player that we've got in the club. And so hopefully all season long, this guy is there to play. We'll have to wait and see. The only other thing that I eventually had to miss out on, which was unfortunate because the balance of the squad isn't totally right, And that is that I wanted a fourth central defender, and I've currently only got 3. I ran out of money again, as I say, couldn't do everything that I wanted to. And the final thing that we'll talk about just on the bench here, there's a couple of youngsters that have come up from the youth ranks. So we'll go and have a look at Bruce Anderson, third choice striker. Nothing to write home about particularly, but again, reasonable in terms of his finishing. He's probably not going to get too many games, but we needed a third striker in and around the squad, and with no money left, it had to be somebody that I promoted, and so Bruce Anderson got the nod. And the final one is Calvin Ramsey, and he's only 18 years old, and he's going to play as a backup option at right fullback, and hopefully the plan is that we'll play him here and there, especially in cup games and other bits like that, and some of these technical attributes will improve over the season because he's only 18, and we might find that there is a player in here, but we'll have to wait and see. Good determination, good stamina, pace, work rate and teamwork are both decent. So I think there's a decent enough player in here. Can we play him enough to get that out of him? We'll have to find out. But that's the last of it, really. Those are the transfers and the new guys into the squad. That's the tactical side of play. We haven't changed anything from last season in that sense. And so for the first game against St Mirren in the Scottish Premiership, we have Lewis in goal, Logan at right back, Demir at left back, Simpson and Considine in central defence, McCrory, Ferguson and Vertonen in central midfield, Hedges on the right, Middleton on the left and Nisbet up top, with a bench of Devlin, Hayes, McGeoch. I've been reliably informed it's McGeoch, that's how I'm supposed to pronounce it, Campbell, McLennan, Ross and Delap. So let's get into today's game and see what happens. So to start the season, I've gone with a very simple team talk of if we play our game, we're going to win the match. We're capable of that. That's what I'm looking for all season. This whole series is about trying to bridge the gap between Aberdeen and the top 2, Rangers and Celtic, and potentially try and win the league. And we've only really given ourselves 3 seasons to do it in. So the only thing that I'm looking for this season is to be as dominant as I can against all of the other clubs in this division. Take a few points off Celtic and Rangers if I can, but primarily close the points gap that was from last season of about 30 points. So that is the intention for this season. Finish in third, try and be as dominant over the other teams as I can, and try and reduce that points gap. If I can do that this season, then at least we're on course for trying to reel them in a little bit at the head, because they were head and shoulders above us last season. They probably still will be this season, most of it. But as I say, it's about how we play against the others, because we drew 11 games last year, I think it was. And if we can reduce that, then potentially there's some room for improvement there. So that's the plan. Although so far, not going particularly great in this first half. With 43 minutes on the clock, somehow we've found ourselves 1-0 down. We were playing pretty well up till that point. You saw a couple of highlights go past whilst I was talking before. And if there's no offside here, there might be, but it doesn't look like there is totally for the player that scored the goal. We'll see whether it's given or not. It's not given offside. That's unfortunate. A couple of other players were offside. He wasn't. Came from deep on that wide position from the sweeping cross and then put the ball in the back of the net. And at half-time, we go 1-0 down just before half-time. You can see that it wasn't a particularly entertaining first half. XG ratings were really low from both. 2 shots at goal and 1 on target for them. 3 and 1 for us. So nothing really to write home about other than that 1 attempt that they got in the back of the net. We're not dominating. We're better in possession and the passing completion rate is good. But we have to improve what we do down their end of the pitch. So we're going to have to go and point the finger and say, I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed with you. I love that one. Feels like I'm a parent, doesn't it, really? I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. But there we go. We're going to use that one, point the finger at them, immediately get them out into the second half, go into the shouts and fire them up for the second half. We're in a positive mentality, so it's not like we're sitting on the back foot all the time, but somehow we've got to find a way to break them down. So let's see how we get on in this second half. Couple of shots already at goal, 1 for either side, really. And here we go with a long clearance from St Mirren. Can we win it in the defensive area? We do. And we drop it back to Considine, all the way back to Lewis in goal. And we get to build up an attack of our own. Can we get this all the way down to the other end of the pitch and actually have a decent attempt at goal? Something that we haven't seen much of so far. Hedges on the ball, over the top for Nisbet. And he does get a shot at goal, but the goalkeeper comes out, narrows the angle and parries it out for a corner. Corner comes into the near post and is partially cleared and well cleared by St Mirren, but Logan stops him in his tracks. Good defensive play by him, but ultimately you can see that we are struggling a little bit to get these attempts actually on target and on goal so we can potentially get a goal from it. It's a bit of a problem, but another build-up play through the centre of midfield here, which is good passing movement. Was he a little bit offside? I don't know whether he was. He felt like he was right on the edge of that last defender. But if he wasn't, that was a lovely bit of movement in midfield. One-touch football, couple of touches there for Ferguson, Vertinen, and Ferguson again. There's the one touch into Nisbet, and he puts it away really nicely. And that is a very lovely goal. I will take that. And here's the kicker. Was he offside? He was not offside, which is great. All well and good. We go 1-1 at 66 minutes. We're going to make a couple of substitutions in a minute. In fact, let's do that now before the game drifts too far. 72 minutes in. Let's see who needs to get sort of taken off and replaced with some fresh legs. So we've got a couple. We've got Hedges, who's, if you remember, was injured at the back end of last season, only just come back to fitness. So we will take him out, and McLennan, he can come on and play down that right-hand side. We've got Logan, should I say, who at right fullback isn't having the best of games, but I'm going to leave him on because the experience that we've got on the bench is mostly left-sided at the moment. So we're going to leave him to play. I'm going to freshen it up in midfield a little bit. So if we bring Campbell on for Vertinen, so he can play in that central midfield role. And then what do we do? Do we replace Nisbet? No, we don't replace Nisbet because he scored a goal. So we are going to replace the fullback and bring Hayes, who was our fullback from last season, in for Demir. Started all right, didn't like the place up today, so we'll replace the fullback there and just get some fresh legs on. So once we press play again and go back into the game, we'll go into the shouts, and for the last 15 minutes of the game, we'll go into the shouts and demand more from them. It's always a good way to try and boost the performance a little bit. And here's a good opportunity from a corner kick from Middleton. Chance again for a cross in, and it's partially cleared again. Campbell's going to pick it up for us, though. Drop it back to Hayes, over the top, but didn't quite break the defensive line. And then they give it straight back to us, which is very kind of them. McCrory in midfield. Let's see if we can work the ball again like we did previously, all the way up the field. And it's dropped back to Lewis, and we start again drawing St Mirren out to us. And there's the ball in, and we've worked the lines really well there. And then we fail on that last ball over the top. But there's a second bite of the cherry for Hayes. And whoa, Middleton. On the edge of the box, he gets the ball gets dropped back to him by Nisbet from the long pass up from Hayes. We'll see it here. Hayes with a great ball up to Nisbet, who controls it really well, drops it back to Middleton, and then out of nowhere from a really acute angle, right in the top corner of the penalty box, he fires the ball right the way across to the other side of the goal into the top corner. And we go 2-1 up with about 5 minutes left to play. What a fantastic strike at the ball that was. Can't get much cleaner than that. And it looks like it's going to get us the win, and it does. We came back from 1-0 down. We finally win the game 2-1. You can see that the XG ratings improved in that second half of both sides. 9 shots on goal and 4 on target for them. 11 and 6 for us. Both over a 1 XG, so we both deserved a goal, but we managed to squeak out another one from just a fantastic strike from Middleton. We were up in the possession stakes. Passing completion at 90% is fantastic. And this is the sort of performance that I want. I just would have preferred not to go 1-0 down to have to do it. But that is very, very good for this season. I will take those types of performances and those types of wins. Today, we end with a positive. So So here we are on the schedule page. Let's figure out what we're doing next episode. You can see, though, that 2-1 win against St Mirren. Good start, having had a good amount of friendly wins as well before the season. So form is good at the moment. Let's see if we can take that in. So we've got our Euro Cup League Path third qualifying first leg to come. That's a mouthful and a half, isn't it? So we'll see whether we get through that. That will be interesting. I really hope that we can. Form suggests that we've got a chance anyway. So what we're going to come back for is we're going to come back for the first big game of the season, and it'll be at the end of August where we play Rangers. So that will be the big one to see if we can come there and actually compete with them. Of course, we lose one of our players because the parent club is Rangers, but we'll have to cope with that. Other than that, I think we're in a better position this season by far than we were last. And it's an early chance to see if we can actually sneak a point maybe against one of these big sides. At home, there's the chance for us. So join me next episode for Rangers. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you're going to enjoy season 2 with me along the way with Aberdeen. I think it's going to be an interesting one. As I say at the beginning of the episode, if we can dominate the other clubs, if we can maybe pick up a couple of points here and there against Rangers and Celtic, if we can squeeze that points gap, I'll be very happy this season. So let's see how we get on. Thank you for joining me. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Join my United City community. The more the merrier. Click that like button on this particular episode. That'll help me get seen by lots more people. Until next time, take care of yourselves. I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.